And you are doing your slides. All right, folks, Jennifer, go ahead and take it away. Thank you so much for being here with us today.
Hello, everyone. I am sharing my screens. Can you see my screen up?
Yes.
Yes, ma'am.
All right, so my name is Jennifer Becerra. I'm an internship program coordinator at NASA Johnson Space Center. So I'm happy to be with all of y'all today and to share some information about NASA internships. I'm going to move on here. Here's a quick overview. NASA internships are competitive awards that is supported by the Office of STEM Engagement at NASA, so not just at Johnson Space Center, but all over the agency. So they're educational opportunities and experiences that provide that unique NASA-related research, the operational experience for educators, high school, undergraduates, and graduate students. So it's an experience to get to a NASA center, do an internship, and work on some projects that you may have not been able to work outside of NASA. So it's a cool experience. The eligibility for NASA OSTEM internships is you must be a U.S. citizen. So that's an important one. All of the eligibilities are important, but U.S. citizen is the one we get the most questions about, and we do require that you have your U.S. citizenship and that you are in the United States. The GPA should be between a 3.0 and on a 4.0 scale, between 3.0 and 4.0. Definitely could be higher, but if you do not have a GPA system at your school, then you may want to get with an advisor at your college or university and find out how you can convert that your grades into some kind of GPA's number. You must be at least 16 years of age or older in order to receive an internship and work at one of these centers in the OSTEM internship program. And enrolled in a degree-seeking program in an accredited college or university. So those are the basic eligibility requirements for the OSTEM internships that you want to look into and make sure that you meet. We have 3 sessions that we offer internships for. Right now we're taking applications for the summer internship, which is summer of 2021. That is a 10-week internship. And the application deadline is coming up soon. The deadline is March 5th of this year. So you still have some time to apply to get it onto interns.nasa.gov and work on your application and submit your applications for projects. We also have a fall internships, which is 16 weeks. And the application deadline will be this summer in July. July 9th is the deadline for that. And then we also have one in spring. So you want to look at your eligibility. When are you willing to come out? Either when we are back at center in a non-COVID world, you would actually be coming to a center and doing your internship. Currently, we are doing virtual internships. So this summer, we will be virtual this summer again. So as you know, hopefully we can get out of this COVID world and everybody will be healthy and safe. And when that happens, we will be returning to our centers. So these are our 3 sessions. So think about your eligibility, like I said, and think about which one can I do? Am I available for all of them? How can I work out one of these sessions? We're on social media. So if you're curious to see what internships is up to, what kind of things are happening out there with interns and at the NASA centers, you can follow us on Facebook, Twitter, Instagram. There's also a blog for you to read about interns and what's happening at the different centers. So I encourage you to go to that social media and check that out. This is the website that you want to go to. So if you remember anything from today's presentation as far as what I'm talking about, interns.nasa.gov is what you want to remember, because everything that I'm talking about you're going to find at this website, and you're going to be able to go back and find the information that you need to apply for the OSTEM internships. They will also have information there for pathways, fellowships, and there's a page there for international students. If you are international, it'll give you information on what international students can do to get some experience with NASA. We are at all the 10 major NASA centers around the United States, and also at some centers that work with those centers. For example, Wallops that works with Goddard, and the Glenn Research Brook Station also works with Glenn Research Center. But all the 10 NASA centers around the United States, we offer internships and have availability for students to look at projects and think about, do I want to go to this center? Is this a project that I want to do? So each center specializes in their own special things. Like Johnson is the home of the astronaut corps. They're looking at how the body changes in space, human space flight, training the astronauts. So Johnson Space Center is where you want to go if you were thinking about that. If you're looking at aerospace, maybe Langley. Marshall does the testing of the rocket engines. So there's all kinds of different things happening at the different centers. Jet Propulsion Lab is, of course, robotics. Goddard does a lot of earth science. So think about some of that information and what you're specializing in, what your degree's in, and what these centers can help you achieve. All right, so what majors does NASA look for? We're primarily looking for STEM majors, science, technology, engineering, and math. But we also have interns out there who are communication majors, who are graphics, public relations, journalism, education majors, education and finance majors. We even now have some law students. So students who are working on their law degrees are also coming to NASA and getting some experience to see how the legal side of NASA is working. So lots of different opportunities. Think of NASA as a community, and your community, there's all kinds of jobs and opportunities. So the same thing with our internships, lots of different projects that come up every session. Different mentors come on board and offer different opportunities for students. Projects that needs each session according to organization's needs. So they change. The project needs change, like I said, depending on what the mentors need throughout the different sessions. You can see here some of the needs that we have needed in the past, but they change all the time. So you really want to look at those different sessions and the offerings and the projects that are out there to see if something calls to you and there's something that you really want to try to get into. All right, here's the website, intern.nasa.gov. Here's where you will go to start your application. So apply here. You're going to do a basic profile, put in your resume, and then once you've done that, you'll have an opportunity to go and search for projects. So you're going to be able to search projects at different NASA centers and read about the projects. So you want to be able to make sure that you match up to some of these projects and see if you qualify for them and if it's something that you really want to do. So interns.nasa.gov, as you go through these different pages, you'll see different offerings for pathways. Like I said, you will see international students. You also see NASA fellowships. So there's other opportunities out there. And at this page, you're going to see all of those. Making your application stand out. So when you're working on your application, it's important that you highlight as much as you can. So think about when you're writing a resume, sometimes you want to keep it short. When you're doing your application on intern.nasa.gov, you want to put in as much as you can. Don't be shy about sharing your qualifications and what you can do, because the mentors are going to be doing searches and looking at these students, and there's thousands of students. Like I said, it's competitive. So you want your application and your profile to stand out. So describe your computer skills, describe your knowledge of any computer skills, software, languages, hardware, computer programming, technical skills, anything that you can do that you perform that are specialized tasks. That might be laboratory experience, that using machine shop tools, and that you have experience with, not just in college, but think back to your high school years, something that you really mastered. Other skills, list any other skills needed that this includes soft skills, communication, leadership, teamwork. Were you part of organizations? Did you lead a certain group? What kind of leadership skills did you have or are you using currently at this time? And then previous NASA program experience. There's some NASA programs out there like HAAS, High School Aerospace Scholars, and CAS, which is community college aerospace scholars. And you have also other opportunities at NASA that students have been part of in the past. Your colleges may have some research that you've been working on with a professor that's doing NASA research. So that's something that you want to also include. So if you've done any kind of NASA projects or program experiences in the past, you want to list those in your application. So the application keyword function, this is something that as intern program coordinators and mentors, we use to find the students that we need and that mentors need. So here you will see this in your application when you're putting your skills in. You're going to describe your computer skills. Put as much information here as you can. So all the programming skills that you know, that you've experienced, that you've taught yourself, that you've taken classes on, you want to put all of that information in here. Also use the searchable keyword function here. So this keyword function, when we go in to look for students, we use that keyword function. We search. It's impossible to look through each student individually one at a time. So when we look at the mentor's description of their project and what skills they need of a student, what grade level, what skills, and we do searches based on those keywords. So make sure that you put these keywords in there. Look at the project description. And if you have some of those qualifications and meet some of the information that they're asking for, put it in the keywords that you know C++, you know Python, you know software development. Put it in there because when we do our searches, we search for those keywords and it's more likely that your name is going to pop up during that time, during our search. Okay, making your application stand out. Apply for every session that you are available for. So think about your availability and what's going on in your life and what you can do for spring, summer, and fall. If you're free to try each one of those, make yourself available for each one of those sessions. If you're only willing and able to do summer because of your workload in school, then you might want to only be available for summer. So think about what's going on and what you're available for. You can apply for up to 15 opportunities. So that's 15 projects during each session. So in summer you can apply for 15, spring and fall you can apply for 15. That's 15 opportunities and 15 different mentors that it's possible for them to see and find you. So apply for all 15. Don't apply for one or two and just have your heart set on those two. Apply for 15 and hope for one of those to come through for you. Spell out any program acronyms like NCOS, NASA Community College Aerospace Scholars. Don't use the acronyms. Spell it out because some mentors may not know what NCOS is. You may have a mentor who's just never heard of the program. There's so many different educational opportunities for students and not every mentor, every employee at NASA knows each one of them. HAAS, High School Aerospace Scholars. If you've done High School Aerospace Scholars in Texas, then you want to spell that out as well. If you've worked on a particular program at your college or university that has an acronym, spell it out because us as coordinators or the mentors may not know what that program is. Explain in detail your research interest and technical skills. So what are you interested in researching? And what kind of technical skills have you had? Have you taught yourself that you've learned in your classes? And then, like I said earlier, think of filters, using those keywords to boost the chances that your application is being viewed by the mentors and the coordinators. So we use that keyword function because we cannot go through each student one at a time. We want to find the best students for these projects. So we try to match them based on what they have in their application to these mentors' descriptions and what they're looking for. Frequently asked questions. So here's some questions that we hear often, and you may have some individual ones, and I'll give you a contact later about who you can contact with your question if it's not in here. Can internship students, can international students apply? No, we only have availability for U.S. citizens. So all applicants must be U.S. citizens in order to apply for an internship. If you are interested in international students, we have the site on interns.nasa.gov, or you can go to this particular site here, and I'll put it in the chat once we're done here so you can see that. But there are opportunities out there for international students, and now as long as NASA's working with your country on different projects and have an agreement to work with them, then there's a possibility to actually do an internship at some centers. Will housing be provided for internships if internships is in person, and that would be a no. Interns are responsible for their own housing arrangements. This includes locating and paying for their housing. Centers may offer minimal assistance by providing a list of local housing options and are establishing a social media group for interns to utilize for relocation planning purposes. As coordinators, we don't provide a list of apartments and housing, but there is a group at NASA who, at Johnson Space Center and at other centers, that work with students to help you find housing. There's also a Slack channel that we help you find so you can communicate with these mentors, and it's kind of like a Yelp for student housing. So they help you find apartments, roommate situations, or there's also employees at NASA who open up their home to students. So once we're out of this COVID world and we're back on center and everyone's healthy and not at risk of getting sick, we'll share that information once we're back on center. Are internships paid? Yes, and that's probably one of the best parts about the internship, not just getting the experience, but you're also getting the experience while getting paid. The majority of interns receive a stipend award. So we do have some volunteer opportunities, but not very many at the different centers. So our OSTEM internships are paid internships. So the 16 weeks internship, here you can see the stipend. Undergraduates is $11,680 for the 16 weeks, and then the graduates is a little more at $14,400. And then you see the summer rates. Because it's less amount of time, you get, of course, less money, but that's your summer rates for the internships. And so right now, since we don't have to uplift and move anywhere, that's kind of nice that you don't have those expenses. Here's some more questions. How do I know my application was received? Once your application has been completed, you're going to get an email from the system. You can go to this section called submission status. Also certify your application by clicking the green check box and clicking submit. So make sure that you submit properly. Make sure you find that green check box, that you submit it. Once you've done that, you'll get a thank you email for your submission. And then it's pretty much a waiting game after that. So once you've done that, you're going to be in the system, and mentors will be able to see your applications to their projects. They'll start ranking students and looking at applications. And if you are being considered, an intern program coordinator will be in contact with you. We'll either email, call you and organize a meeting, an interview, and start the process from there. So that's what's going to happen after you receive after you put in your application. NASA won't be calling you or sending you emails every day, so please refrain from sending or calling your NASA center's main line, because they probably won't know about your application. How can I check the status of my application? The system will notify you via email, like I said, if you receive an offer. So by this time, if you're going to receive an offer, you're going to be in contact with an internship program coordinator. You would have already talked to one, communicated with one. They would have either interviewed you or talked to you about it, or you may have already talked to the mentor. So you will know if you're in line for a possible offer. Please refrain from, like I said, emailing the help desk or contacting NASA centers about your application status. So you will be contacted if you're considered for a project. If you have any questions from today that we're not covered and that you really want to talk to us about, here's our JSC internship email. So in JSC-interns-inquiries@mail.nasa.gov. And that particular email address will get to the intern coordinators, and we will be happy to answer any of your questions or any of your concerns as well. And I'll put that in the chat in just a second. If you have questions, let us know. I think you can put them in the chat and and we'll try to answer as many as we can. And that's all I have for you today.
Thank you so much, Jennifer. I know there was quite a few students that are listing some or raising their hand. So what we're going to do just to make sure that we can get to the intern panel, I'm going to transition it over to Brandeis, who is going to facilitate that. And then we will really make sure that we have time at the end for questions. But if for some reason your question does not get answered, we're going to ask that you do email the email that Jennifer shared with us. So I think, Brandeis, I'm going to turn it over to you.
Sorry, I was muted. Hello, everyone. Oh, you're seeing yourself. Okay. I hope that you could see the presentation.
Yep, presentation.
Yeah, we can see it.
Okay. So my name is Brandeis Bellamy. I'm a Pathways intern at Johnson Space Center. Before I was a USRA intern, the University Space Research Association, the one that Jennifer alluded to. I was an intern at Kennedy Space Center, and I've also been a contractor. So I've had every type of internship you could think of. So I'll let Shane and Riley talk as well.
Hi, everyone. My name is Shane Tolentino. I recently graduated from Columbia College Chicago with a degree in illustration and a minor in environmental studies. I'm a USRA intern, and my project has me making illustrations for the Orion communication team about space exploration, kind of like with humans. Yeah, so I'll pass it on to Riley.
Hi everyone, my name is Riley Doty. I'm currently a first tour Pathways intern at JSC. I'm currently a junior at Judson University, which is back home by Chicago, so I made the big move down to Houston. I'm currently studying business administration with a focus in leadership. So I'm one of the business interns. We're definitely in the minority, but NASA definitely has that need for business. So I'm glad to be here and to get to present to you guys.
I forgot to say my major. I'm a computer engineering major studying at the University of Houston, Clear Lake. I recently transferred from Florida.
All right, so I can take it from here. I love this slide just because it shows that you know, even though if we're in Houston or if we're across the country completely online, our student programs will still bring us together to have meaningful experiences in different ways outside of our projects. So I love all of these different photos. So at JSC, we have two main student programs for interns, with one dedicated to kind of like professional development and the other one for making connections with each other, social connections and stuff. And so within these two programs, we have different kinds of groups like a professional development group. We have NASA on campus where we get to do outreach. We have a tours and lectures committee. We have a group for sports. We have a group that organizes a lovely fancy dinner at the end of our tour, and an intern newspaper group and more. And so in addition to all of these different student programs at JSC, we have another kind of larger student program called Promoting Agency Cross-Center Connections, or PACC for short. And this organization, like the name says, aims to connect students from the different centers and provides them with different events and networking opportunities to get to know each other better.
All right, so as Jennifer talked about a little bit, these are some of the majors and disciplines NASA looks for, primarily STEM majors, but notice how not all of them are. So I'm a living testament to that. So they definitely have a need for business communications, you know, project management type stuff, HR, public affairs, you know, all the photos, all the videos, social media posts you see, like someone on the business side is doing that. And right now in my Pathways class, I think about 75% are technical, 25% are business. So definitely in the minority, but as I said, you know, every HR administrative decision, financial decision that has to be made, someone has to do that. So JSC and all the other NASA centers definitely have a business need. I definitely grew up thinking that I had to be an engineer to work at NASA, but I discovered they do have a business side, and I thought my strengths were more business-based, so that's the path I went on, and here I am in Pathways, starting out in public affairs and communications, public affairs, public relations. I never gave any thought to that, in my business background. But NASA has so many different organizations that, focus on pretty specific aspects of business. So there's so much opportunity within the business side and the technical side. You can go to the next slide. So as we talked about, there's the USRA OSIM internships. There's also the Pathways program, and then the contractors. So a little bit more about Pathways, and then I'll let Brandeis and Shane tell you a little bit more about maybe the contracting side. Pathways is a co-op program. So this is basically you rotate on and off from going to school to working at NASA. So you could do your spring semester at NASA, and then you could also do like another summer semester at NASA, and then you could go to school in the fall. You'll plan that with the people who are in HR and helping you. But basically, you rotate on and off until you graduate. And then after you graduate, you have a pretty high chance of converting to full-time or a permanent position at NASA. So it's a really great program if you are like me and you've wanted to work at NASA your entire life. Like that's a program you want to be in, just because it has that high conversion rate, and it gives you, at least a couple years of experience. So when you do possibly convert to that full-time job, you already know the ropes, and you're ready to take that head on. So if you guys want to say a little bit about the other ones.
Oh, there's one more slide here.
Okay. Did you guys want to talk about like Brandeis, maybe the contracting side, or no?
Yeah, it's after this one, but I think
Okay.
Jennifer talked about this one a little bit. So we have, similar to the USRA internships, they have Pathways internships at all 10 NASA centers. So there's a lot of opportunity to apply all over the country based on where you see yourself living in the future. And of course, right now, everything is virtual. So if you want to work in California virtually and still learn about what's happening in California, you could definitely do that as well. Riley, did you have anything to add to this slide?
Yeah, let's see. What was I going to say? Yeah, so there are definitely a lot of opportunities all over the country. And I made the decision to move down to Houston from Chicago. So, it's definitely, if you get into one of these programs, it's definitely a big decision to make if, you go to school in Houston, but you're from a different state. It's definitely a big jump, but I will say that, big dreams require big decisions. So if this is really what you want, it's so worth it to, be bold and just make that move and just take on your new lifestyle head on.
Yeah, I totally agree. I actually did the same thing. I used to live in Florida when I went to Kennedy Space Center, but when I was offered the position at Johnson in the Pathways program and knew that it would lead to full-time employment, I definitely took the leap of faith and moved to Texas, never having been to Texas before. So that was nice. I could talk about contractors because most of the people that work at NASA, they work for contractors who have an agreement with NASA. So each one of these contractors that you see on the screen, and there's a lot more than that as well, they have their own internship program. So all you have to do is go to these individual companies' websites and look up to see what kind of internships they have. And you might still end up working on site at NASA. You would just have a different badge that says contractor. But NASA does a really good job of making sure that contractors and civil servants work hand in hand together. Civil servants means that you're directly employed by the US government. Contractors are you're employed by a private entity, and USRA interns are kind of the in-between, working as a stipend-based internship. So I have had contractor internships in addition to USRA and Pathways. And I actually have an internship with San Jacinto College in Texas, and they have an agreement to supply interns for their flight operations directorate. So I've gotten a chance to work in mission control. I've talked to a lot of astronauts. It's really cool. And even in the virtual state, I feel like I'm still an integral part of working at NASA, even though I have the contractor badge right now. And when I go back to Pathways, I feel like I'll still have as much influence at NASA because they don't give you busy work. They give you work that's really going to help further the mission of getting astronauts back to the moon, the first woman and the next man, and then on to Mars in the future.